6 p.m. on December 11th, 2024. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was originally published in the Favorite Neighborhood News on September 11th, 2024, and October 9th, 2024. It was also posted in the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. First order of business, minutes for approval, May 8th, 2024. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. I checked them out, I had no issues.
I
had no issues.
Do you want to make a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. We were all present at that meeting.
Yep.
Meeting mail. Right of first refusal, requests for Mass General Law, Chapter 61, Forestry release. Map 23, Lot 1, 474 Middle Road, Acushnet, Mass. 27.14 acre parcel. 25.74 acres received Chapter 61D Forestry credit. Town Administrator James Kelly is requesting recommendations as soon as possible. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. It wasn't soon enough. They already forgoed their right of first refusal against my personal will, but that's just my opinion. I think that land is valuable to the town as it abuts.
I think we all agree with you.
I think we all agree.
But we'll see how that unfolds.
Right.
Next order of mail, memo from the Board of Selectmen regarding request for Mass General Law, Chapter 61B release, open space recreation, 2 acres. Currently, a portion of Assessors Map 3, Lot 16D, comprised of total of 4.8 acres, Lot 16F. 1443 Main Street, review of matters presented, votes may be taken. It's just a small swath of land.
Yeah.
Really, kind of standard practice. I don't want to. I personally don't recommend on, I think foregoing would be okay, that parcel. So, do they need a formal vote?
Yeah, because I'll send a letter too.
Okay.
Make a motion that we do not recommend purchase for that property.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's you-
abstain from that one.
Okay. So that was 6 ayes and an abstention from Eric. Meeting mail, Department of Environmental Protection Waterway Regulation Program, notification of waterways application by Instar Electric Company for utility transmission lines at 39 Beach Street to 1 Pine Street. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. They were just letting us know that Eversource has applied for a waterway application for the project crossing the river. Old business. Continued public hearing, notice of intent and stormwater. White's Farm Incorporated, 211 Middle Road, map 23, lots 29, 29A, and 29B, SE file number 0010596. Notice of intent and stormwater application was filed by Zachary Fox, Middle Road, Acushnet Solar LLC, for property located at 211 Middle Road, map 23, lots 29, 29A, and 29B. The applicant proposes to construct a ground-mounted solar array on a portion of the open fields within the property located at 211 Middle Road in Acushnet. Work is limited to the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and bank. The applicant is represented by Sarah Stearns of Beals and Thomas. Plan name is Middle Road PV Solar Development, dated September 10th, 2024. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we received notification from, was it Rewild, or maybe it was Sarah from Beals and Thomas, that they are looking to continue as they're still waiting the comments, or we've received the comments from the initial peer review. They're working on their rebuttal, I guess you could say.
Right.
And also the public hearing from the planning board, I believe, was continued as well because of technical issues. So they've requested for our next meeting for it to be continued, and that is January 15th? Okay. So is there a motion to continue to the January 15th meeting at 6 PM here?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay. Continued public hearing, notice of intent, Lake Street, New Bedford Reservoir, Lakes 1, 2, and 4, map 3, lot 13, map 4, lot 49, and map 19, lot 32, SC file number 0010595. Notice of intent was filed by James Kelly, town of Acushnet, for the property located at the New Bedford Reservoirs, Lakes 1, 2, and 4. Applicant proposes the removal at the root of invasive weeds from areas of the New Bedford Reservoir, Lakes 1, 2, and 4, located in Acushnet, using an eco-harvester. The applicant is represented by Scott Daggett, Lake Street Improvement Committee. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Scott, the floor is yours.
So Scott Daggett from the Lake Street Improvement Committee, along with Mr. Gary Coppa. So since last we met, I think the question in which was left unanswered was, did we hear from Mass DEP? We did. Their only recommendation was to review what they call their guidance for aquatic plant management in lakes and ponds, which is just a guideline as to certain actions that should be taken in this particular type of job that we plan on doing. I've skimmed over it. I believe Mr. Minton had also skimmed over it as well. There's nothing there that's really surprising. Everything pretty much makes sense. I believe that the guidelines will be followed. I think Jeff Corsico from Seeing the Underwater, I believe he's aware of this. I sent him a copy of it just the other day. I'm sure with all the work that he's done here in state, he probably knows this thing cover to cover. So
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that we've heard back from DEP, we've heard back from Mass Wildlife, and we've heard back from Division of Marine Fisheries and Wildlife. Nothing surprising from any of those agencies. They all are pretty much in approval. They do have some, certain restrictions, like time of year restrictions, but, those things don't really apply because we're not doing any work within that time frame. So I think that, we've covered all our bases, we've met every requirement, and just looking to, get approval on this, and we can go ahead and start some scheduling for August.
Have you heard anything from New Bedford at all?
No, so I haven't heard anything from the city of New Bedford. They've been pretty much non-responsive to a lot of my inquiries, trying to get some information, more information about the lakes and the ponds. And I haven't been in touch with the Conservation Commission. I haven't been in touch with Chance. So, I tried to keep them in the loop. I may have missed a few opportunities to, make sure that, they know what's going on. Once this committee has gone ahead and approved, I will go ahead and send all the information to Chance so that he knows everything,
Yeah.
going on, and, all these other attachments and all these other review comments from Mass Wildlife, DEP, and Division of Fisheries and Wildlife. I will send all that to Chance so that, he will be kept up to date.
Did you try to go to any of their conservation meetings?
No, there's no need to. What New Bedford does, I'm not concerned with. As far as I'm concerned, it's a formality. It's just us being good neighbors, keeping them up to date, because it is their property, even though we do have a mutual order of understanding. For 25 years, the town of Acushnet can go ahead and manage it, which is what the city should have done to begin with. So, no, I have not gone to any of their Conservation Commission meetings, just because I don't think it's relevant.
I agree.
Um,
The other thing, Scott, when is your first water sample gonna be?
Water sample. So are you talking
Of the pond?
pre-application or
Yeah.
post-application?
Before any work is done. I thought we were doing
So-
water
so-
testing.
Well, we did some water testing back in 2020, I think it was, with Solitude. I have a copy of the water quality report. It's actually what they call their lake assessment report. I believe, I don't know if your Conservation Commission has a copy of that. I think Mary Lee at the time may have had a copy of it, but I could be wrong. If not, I can certainly forward a copy to Mark.
Okay.
Make sure he has a copy of it. In reference to post-treatment, there's still a little bit of discussion about that. Jeff Corso had said, sometimes town agencies, want that. He doesn't feel that it's a necessary requirement because you're going in there and you're just pulling the weeds. The only thing that you're actually going to disturb is maybe the bed of the pond because as you pull these weeds, it's going to disturb the bottom of the pond and it's going to create a little bit of turbidity and it may increase some of the bacterial levels, but from what Jeff says, it should only be for about a day or so. Just because you're mixing up,
Correct.
the pond bed, all of the biomass that's settled down to the bottom. So,
Well, since it was 4 years ago, prior to starting, don't you think we should take another sample and then we could take one after and see what's going on and see, or even during, and see how this is being moved or not moved, or is it affecting it? If we do a water test system before, and then we do one either during or after, and we say, hey, it calmed down, everything went back to the original, we're in good shape. But if it doesn't, then we have to look and say, hey, wait a second here, things are off, right? Like you said, you did it 4 years ago, that's kind of an awful long time. That's my own opinion of mine.
Yeah. Well, I would think that within 4 years' time, the water quality would not change that
Well,
much.
we got more
We don't-
growth,
yeah.
we got more boats, we
Yeah.
got more fishing, we got a lot more in the
Yeah.
last 4 years, right? I just think it's kind of a good idea. The rest of the committee can,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that there needs to be an established starting point. And I think it's a great idea, especially we all know this is a long-term project. It's a good stepping stone and a stepping stone for the future, for the water quality. And it's transparent
Yeah.
for everyone to see.
Yeah, and I don't think it would be a big deal to do.
Right.
It's just a matter of finding a reputable organization, whether it's, the state that's gonna do it themselves, which I don't believe they would, but, even if I were to get back in touch with Solitude and say, hey, could you guys come on out and just give us a water quality assessment?
Right.
Maybe there won't be maybe there won't be any hard feelings because we, kind of put them aside because they wanted to do the herbicide use and they were very expensive when it came to wanting to do the eco harvester.
yeah.
Or they had a different method. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a little bit more expensive
Yeah.
compared to what Jeff is offering to do for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could reach out. I'm sure, some of the personnel probably have, changed roles, so I still have some contacts there, I think. I could always reach out.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other companies. All I'm saying is 4 years ago, we get it done now, we can compare them to.
Yeah.
And then when we're into this, we can compare it then, right?
Yeah.
So now we get it right across our board, what's happening.
And if it's acceptable to you, maybe I could reach out to some of my old professors at UMass Dartmouth and see if they would be willing to, have some students go out there and do some water quality testing.
That's,
Yeah.
I don't think we care where it comes from, and as long as they're qualified, I think it's a good starting point, right?
Yeah.
Let's start out at base zero, get qualities, we look at both of them
Yeah.
from 2020 to now, and then after the work or during the work, get another one, and then after, and let's see what this pond's actually doing, right?
Yeah. And also, the last meeting, I had mentioned that there were some water quality stations that the state did monitor in certain areas of, I think, 3 of the ponds. I had done a little bit of research into that, and those water quality stations are no longer active. The last testing, I think, that was performed was back in 2000. So I do have some water quality data from that 2000 study. Granted, we're talking 24 years ago, but we
Right.
can look back 20 years, we can look back to when Solitude last did it, and then, of course, we could look back or look ahead to what we're gonna do
So-
before the application ends.
2020, do they have specific spots they use in the pond?
I don't honestly know if there were,
I think there's 5 set sampling stations, but
well, I think
Oh,
he's
I'm sorry.
talking about the 2020 study that was done. with
Correct, the one in
Solitude.
2020.
Yeah.
Because if so, I'd like to try to go to the same spots, right? That's how
Oh,
you
yeah.
get the most accurate
Right.
reading, right?
Yeah. I do not know if there was any particular locations in which Solitude had done their study.
Well, when you talk to them, you can always ask and say, if you do go back out there, can we try to do it at the same spot? They might have a Latin long on it or whatever,
Right. Yeah, and it would make sense to get the sampling from,
Yep.
the exact same, or at least near it.
Correct.
At least close to it as
Mr.
possible.
Chairman, if I could, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Scott, where do we stand on the dewatering, the storage, the haul, the disposal of the weed remediation? Have we had conversation with Acushnet? I know you had mentioned this.
We haven't had any discussion with the DPW just yet.
Okay.
During the early stages of this new proposal of pulling the weeds, there was a little bit of discussion with Dan Menard. And, it was kind of just casual discussion between Mr. Woolner and Mr. Bernard in reference to, can we store this stuff in the town yard? Dewatering obviously would be through Jeff. He would be best to handle that information as to where he's gonna store it for dewatering. And then obviously transport and disposal would be through DPW. It's my understanding that we could utilize DPW trucks to haul it to the town yard and just use it for compost after it's been dewatered.
Have you looked into seeing if you could get any volunteers from the town itself? Maybe somebody would be willing to rent a truck, or like just use their truck for the day for something, just to help out?
That's possible. The other option, we could, I think Jeff also has the availability of being able to truck it to the town yard, so if we don't want to use our, town vehicles, I don't know if there would be a fee, because it's,
Well, he was
you know,
charging by the day,
the
right?
travel distance from, where the ponds are to the DPW yard, it's a 2-minute ride, not even that. So, maybe after some discussion with Jeff, I can find out, see if that's a service that he can offer us, being able to truck it once it's been dewatered.
So my last question is as far as the, when the remediation happens, the storage of, I'll call it the product that's taken from the bottom of the lake, do we know if in fact that we can store that on site there without compromising the integrity of the bodies of water or the body of water that's there? Are we allowed to do this?
I believe you can, because all you're really doing is you're just taking the biomass or the weeds, and you're just bringing it to the shoreline, and as it dewaters, it's just naturally going to flow back into the ponds. So whatever little water you're taking out, you're just allowing it to flow back into the ponds. I don't think there would be any need for any like coir logs or anything like that. I don't think you would have to use any kind of erosion controls, because you're just,
Right.
You're just taking this biomass, this large clump of weeds, and just allowing it to dewater, and just allowing the water to get back into the pond where it belongs.
Did you have contact the planning board or anything to see if they have any ideas on what could be causing the rapid weed growth in the first place?
No, I haven't contacted the planning board.
So-
I'm not sure if the planning board would be privy to any of that information, to be honest with you.
They would be the ones that would be in charge of all the projects around that area and stuff, correct?
Right, I imagine that they would be, or Board of Health if it was relating to septic systems or anything like that.
Did you contact anybody in regards to seeing what what could be possibilities of why
Well,
we got such a high rate of the nitrogen, I believe it was?
So I did contact, I can't remember her name from the Board of Health, but she was nice enough to give me the information as to what prompted the closures of the ponds to begin with when it comes to swimming.
Goose.
It was somehow related to geese, an overabundance of goose droppings that elevated the pH levels and made the water unswimmable. So it was between the town of Acushnet and the city of New Bedford that made that decision to close off the ponds for swimming, wading, any water-related type activities. Since then, if you go out there during the summer, you'll see people water skiing on the South Pond. You see people kayaking and boating. So I think the water quality is probably much, much better than it was compared to that. I think it was back in might have been 93 or 97 when they did the closure. So the pond has rebounded, I think, water quality wise. But, they still don't want to open up any beaches or open it to swimming.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, so I think to a couple points here, the water quality monitoring plan, as I understand it, was included in the original proposal put forth by the Lake Street Committee, and that had to do with when the plan was to potentially use herbicides.
Right.
So I think at this point, and my apologies not to, these are some draft conditions, they're pulled out of this, it's a state guidance for aquatic plant management in lakes and ponds, and they have a number of specific recommendations that speak to what we're talking about here, like what to do with disposing of the weeds once they've been removed. The Department of Marine Fisheries, I recall that they had 3 specific recommendations in the letter we received. One was, if there is going to be a water monitoring plan, we should spell out the parameters, and we discussed that last time. Mr. Daggett and I both have been in communication with state DEP about questions about water quality monitoring there, these existing stations, whether or not they would be willing to help expand a program to try to answer some of these questions, trends and try to narrow down sites. They provided, I provided 5 or 6 pages out of a 500-page water quality report that they sent, and it relates specifically to these ponds and lakes. So they have a long-term data set that can answer, I believe, some of these questions in terms of the trends. I think ideally it'd be great to be able to actively monitor and try to identify where these excess nutrients are coming from. But I personally have, based on some conversations Scott and I have had, it seems to me in a perfect world that would be great, but it might be something to follow up with, Scott said, trying to find someone at UMass Dartmouth. There's 3 or 4 master's theses in there. They've got to be, and there's money for some of this stuff. So I guess I'm of the opinion that in terms of the water quality monitoring, to rely on what the state is already collecting, Buzzards Bay, I don't know exactly where they're collecting their samples, but they seem to be, DEP referred us to some of their reports. And the other two I remember from DMF were the time of year for river herring, blueback, and alewives, and then eels that are up in there. And then the third recommendation I remember was what Scott and I believe Eric, you were mentioning, Jimmy, about developing a specific plan to deal with the removal. Several recommendations all related to removal of the invasive and other weeds and how they were going to be disposed of. So those were the three things I can remember. But again, my apologies. These are just these ideas for some special conditions. I think speak to some of the concerns that were being raised. And Scott and I have had several conversations, because I think it's a good project. And again, back to water quality, it'd be great if we could sample above a stream and below it and do some kind of long-term thing, but I don't know if we have the capabilities to do that, or that's, you have the resources to do that. So I'm throwing that out there as something for consideration, and in absence of that, we would continue to rely on what we're already getting from the state, which they have a plan where they're sampling different watersheds. So at some point, I can't tell you the year, but they'll cycle back here, which gives us the long-term trends. But that's my 2 cents. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has Jeff given you any indication of the amount that he might develop on a daily basis?
So
just in terms of volume.
Yeah. So in early talks, when he and I first met and we did our little walkthrough of the ponds, he expressed to me that generally he can do about an acre to an acre and a half per day. Because as the machine starts pulling up more weeds, it slows down because the machine gets heavier. So, they have to make multiple trips to unload onto the shoreline and go back out. So generally, I think in about a 6 or an 8 hour day, it's usually an acre to about an acre and a half.
Right, but I'm referring to volume.
To volume?
Does he have
How much weed?
are we talking a couple yards? Are we talking 5 yards maybe? Or, I'm just...
In relation to volume, no. I have not asked
I'm just curious if he had, any idea of...
No, I have
When
not
it
asked.
comes to removal and disposal, it would probably be helpful to know maybe, what type of volume is going to be created.
Right.
Yeah, and then also, when he tells us what did he give you a ballpark of what equipment exactly he's gonna be bringing? Because like Christian just stated, now if he comes out and he pulls out 100 yards, does he have a way to stack 100 yards on the shoreline? Or are we gonna have to bring in an excavator of our own to stack the materials? Is it gonna be materials throughout a large area? Or could we, because there's gonna be, if we're just using one loading dock, that's a lot. You would imagine, and then 1 acre, if you look at a regular field and look at a 1 acre, I'd be guessing, 2 inches of soil, you're talking hundreds of yards. And same thing with weeds, like you go to mow your lawn, for an example, how many times are you dumping that bag? And that's only a front lawn, never mind an acre.
No, it's a really good point.
Well, yeah, when are we talking in terms of volume on a
That's
daily
a
basis
huge-
being created, as far as how everything will be handled, disposed, and so on?
Or even the deep
Scott, he
water.
probably has that number in the back of his head. This is what he does.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you looked at the
It would
pond.
be-
Right.
probably helpful to
Yeah.
have a bit of
I would like to
insight.
see,
Yeah.
I would like to see a plan in the sense of this whole operation once it gets to shore, like, what are Jersey barriers with, straw wattle or whatever on shore before it gets trucked to where it's going. Because I looked back in emails that I exchanged with Lakeville when you did the initial inquiry into this, and I reached out to their chairman of the Conservation Commission, and they said that, you know, like, in terms of volume, it's big initially, but it shrivels down to
Oh,
nothing.
yeah, I just
Yeah,
about,
like,
that was the question I had.
in no time.
Yeah.
Right.
It don't take long, but, you know,
But how long could you leave it on the shoreline?
I see.
Trying to get a
those
handle on how
specifics
much
I
is
don't
gonna
know.
need to be handled.
Right.
It's-
Yeah, well, I think there should be parameters, how much
I mean, right.
sits in the parking lot or wherever, or
Is it-
designated
Is
area.
it gonna be a,
I know, I'd like to
mountain
see a little
or a
more
molehill?
specifics on that.
no?
And on the other thing, we just did do a substantial amount of work in the parking lot and stuff. I wouldn't see wanting to put it
Is
in the
that,
parking lot.
that,
Right.
that aquatic is, it's pretty dense, correct? In those areas that you're gonna be,
Yeah. Yeah, the areas that we want to hit
Sure.
are, you know, the most
And
impacted
again,
areas.
you know, you're saying possibly an acre
Yeah,
in
yeah.
an average day?
Right. Yeah, that could be,
I mean,
you
is
know,
it-
volume-wise, that could be quite a bit.
I
yeah.
guess it could, that's.
Oh, it could. And then like you were saying with the trucking now, are we gonna need are we gonna need triaxles? Are we gonna need 18-wheelers?
18-wheelers.
Are we gonna need one ton?
Trying to
Can we
get a handle
try-
on what-
Now, if it's
what's
two-
gonna end up,
It's
you know,
only 2 minutes
being
down the road, but.
created, you know, even if it shrinks
Right.
50%.
The other thing you gotta look at, if they go take an acre and a half and there's a 100-yard pile, can they put another 100 yard there tomorrow?
Well, that's what I
You know
was
what I
kind
mean?
of trying to.
If they go
get at.
7 days in a row,
That's.
It's a small
all.
window,
I mean-
it's kind of a small, relatively small window of time and
It is.
money,
Right.
in a sense, funding
Right,
for this
but-
project
but,
initially.
mm.
I get it. I guess those.
Just like to see it
I
go
agree-
as smoothly
I agree
as
with you guys.
possible.
I agree 100%. There was a couple things, I mean, I just got this draft, special conditions tonight, so I don't, you know,
My apologies.
no, no problem.
I just,
I mean, we got a little time here too.
Yeah,
sure,
I
they'll-
do.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have to figure that out.
I mean, that's something you can discuss with Jeff too, Scott, right? And
Yeah.
say, hey, listen, you know,
Really,
you looked
that's-
at the ponds.
I'd like to, you know, get a list of the pressing issues. Like,
Mm.
I think that's probably I could do, with the water quality monitoring,
Yeah.
I get it,
Right.
love, in a perfect world, I'd love to see it, but that costs a lot of money, and that takes away from the scope of the project, and if the state's doing it already on their own, you know,
I think, and especially like time-wise now, if we're gonna try to get him to be moving this too, like one truck or 10 trucks, like
It
2
would-
minutes
it would be
adds
good
up
to know volume.
drastically.
because he's gonna probably be operating for what, like a week, right?
7
We're,
days.
we're hopeful that we can at least get 5 days out of him in August. Because he's got other locations here,
Right.
like, you know, Long Pond,
Yeah,
that's still an
back to Long
ongoing
Pond,
project. So August is the
Month.
prime time when you want to hit these weeds, so he's gonna be, you know, in Lakeville doing Long Pond for a week or however long, and then, you know, he'll, you know, take care of Lake Street, I assume probably 5 days, maybe,
And he
maybe
said
6.
8-hour days?
I hope so, yeah. I
Times
believe
8 hours
so.
days. Okay, and then you said an acre a day? I mean, acre an
Yeah,
hour?
but- No, an acre.
No,
a
an
day.
acre a day.
An
Acre a day.
Acre a day?
5 acres.
That's,
The only other
that's
concern
40.
I would think would be, what's the length of the dewatering process as well, in terms of how long this material, so
Oh, an acre a day.
from, you know, start to
Yeah,
finish?
I guess that would depend on how
Because
hot of a day.
again, if it's an enormous
Yeah.
volume, could be
I re-
something to consider, I would think.
Yeah, you would want to know exactly how long that.
I don't
material
imagine
pile
it's
is.
overnight, is it? I mean, is it overnight? Is it, you know,
Yeah,
I
pull it out of there the following day, you know?
You went to.
I remember when I
I realize weather is a factor as well.
I had the privilege to, I think I was bringing my daughter to the pond or something in Lakeville when they were doing it. They weren't even doing any dewatering over there. They were just backing a dump trailer, 14,000 GVW dump trailer, So
20-something yards,
20 yards. yeah.
23, you can probably sneak on it.
They were just backing that up to the water line, and then they were unloading from the machine to into the trailer, hauling it off site. So that's where, like you were saying with yardage, maybe they were hauling it off site because they didn't have a big. Because now if we have to bring in, we'll say 307 or something. That it costs a substantial amount of money to move that in, to run that kind of machinery too, on our town end, and time-wise.
I mean, these are all things you gotta talk to Jeff, right? Say, hey, can you give us a ballpark of volume? Say, this is what my
Kinda wanna
commission's looking
fine-tune
for,
that.
right?
Yeah, I'd just like to know, really, it's the dewatering, and then if it's done off-site, I mean, that's fine, at the yard or whatever, but just some sort of
I mean,
containment plan, if
yeah.
it is gonna be dewatered off-site,
Yeah.
volume, and
You still gotta get
the amount of time.
Now, if it's getting dewatered off-site, now when he was explaining that the water was gonna drain into the pond, that's gonna become another issue. 'Cause
Either
now-
that, or have a staging area, and once they find out how much volume is coming out per day, have an area designated for it. I'd just like to see more of a plan than just like, oh yeah, we're just
We're gonna go at it.
Yeah,
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's basically what,
Yeah.
and all that can be determined by
I would
basic,
think so.
talking
Yeah.
to them, you know?
At this time, I haven't been in a lot of communication with Jeff, just because when it comes to the notice of intent, he's kind of,
Letting you do your own
he's
thing.
kind of in the dugout, he's not, he's just waiting to get the word go and
Right.
go.
Right.
But, with the questions that you guys are presenting, or, the committee is, the commission is presenting, obviously, I'll send those questions to him and get answers, and,
Because I would like to see it dewatered on site, because you don't want, if there is any fines or
Yeah,
anything
should go back.
going into any other body of
Should
water,
go
so
back,
it makes more
yeah.
sense to be there.
Right.
But the volume would be the determining factor, I think.
Oh, definitely gonna be the volume.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know who mentioned it, but it was mentioned before, it might be as easy as plastic on the hill, put the
Right.
pile up top and let the water run right back into the
Yeah.
pond, right? Now we're not trying to like contain it, hold it, let it all go back to where it came
Yeah.
from. And that might be the easiest thing, but like
But-
everyone's saying, we don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, is it 60 feet long that we gotta do? You know what I mean? It's
Well, the issue there also is, the availability of the space. So obviously, the pond with boat ramp, ideal. Paved area, plenty of space to be able to store whatever we pull out.
Where would you store it?
The other trick would be, well, there's plenty of
Little
parking
beach.
there. If you take up, a parking space or 2 or 3 or 4, it's not like,
well,
It's
100
not like
yards would
one-
take up
no,
most of
it's not
the
like
beach.
100
though.
I don't think
Yeah,
that's
but
100 yards would take up most of the beach. Never mind the parking lot.
100 yards is a lot of
Unless-
material.
well, it depends on how,
Unless- Unless you have the equipment to handle it.
Correct,
Right.
correct. Pile it up, stack it
Sure.
up, do whatever.
But like I was
But
gonna say,
even if we piled it up, now the whole dewatering is gonna be different, because now it's gonna be stacked on top of
It
each
takes
other.
longer.
You know, it might take longer, or it might be less, because you could think of it as a sponge
Compression.
too.
Yeah,
The
you're compressing
compression
it up.
might come
Yeah.
down and
Yeah.
push more water
So, I
out.
mean, these are the things I think you should ask Jeff,
Right.
and it's stuff that we're gonna wanna see before we say the go, right?
yeah, and I'm gonna have to confer with Jeff anyways, because of, storage locations for the other 2 ponds. The small pond across from Tom Davis, that's not a very big lot, and it's all, gravel or dirt or whatever you wanna call it, so, he's gonna have to, I would assume that he would come down and take a better look and, get a better idea as to, where he's gonna be able to store this stuff. The south pond, he's gonna have to look and see what's available
That's
there
gonna be
for
a challenge,
space.
right?
Yeah, because now you'd
Well,
have.
there might be a resident in town with all uplands that just says,
Well,
hey, you can
that's-
store it at my
that's
house,
fine. Yeah,
and that's
no,
fine too,
I mean-
as long as it's, not stored, I
Yeah.
mean, there is wetlands behind the
Possibly, right.
DPW yard,
Yeah, could be.
so that would be my concern, would be
Could be.
dewatering it there. you know?
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What kind?
Want
How,
to introduce it?
Well,
Right, I would-
yeah.
Sure, just,
what kind of? How? What's We just went over the New Bedford isn't a very good timeline, but how's your timeline been going with? His name's Jeff. You were saying again. How's your response time been with him?
It's usually pretty quick. He usually emails me within a day.
How much time do you think you would need to get some of these questions answered that we have?
I
Our
could-
next meeting's in a month, so I imagine.
You think you,
Yeah,
I mean, we've
I
got the
could-
holidays coming up, but I mean, it's the 15th is our next meeting. I think you could get those questions for the next meeting.
So do I.
you have any more questions?
Oh, God,
So, Mr. Chairman, I know the DMF letter IDs exactly what's being discussed here, you know, the devil's in the details, you know, what are the steps? And I'm happy if, you know, to help follow up on some of those things, if it's helpful, and put together, like, I keep thinking HACCP, but it's not really, you know, like some more of the details to lay out.
Yeah, so I know
If
some
you
of the.
want help, I don't.
Yeah, so I know some of the questions have been raised to present to Jeff. I think the best thing to do, in my opinion, would be, you know, just, you know, because I know questions have been thrown from, you know, various different people. You know, just tally up all the questions, have, you know, Mr. Minton send me an email with, you know, a list of questions and concerns that, you know, Jeff, I can present to Jeff. I'll shoot that email out to him, and he usually gets back to me within a day or two.
I
Great.
think
Yeah, we can do
mainly it's only the dewatering and the volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two questions. That's the two
Yeah.
kickers right
And the
there.
truck.
And how long it takes to de-water.
Storage.
It's not,
Yeah.
And the trucking.
Yeah.
we could probably just write a note for him
Okay.
at the end of this meeting or something too, no?
Joanne's making all the notes, Mark can get them from her, and we can take and send an email to Scott, and let
Yeah.
Scott do his homework with Jeff, and then by the next meeting, we should have some of the, well, most of these answered, correct?
Oh, yes.
Even if
Sure.
Jeff's got a, you know, you suggest him to take a walk at it again, right? Because the guy's been doing it so long, he should be able to look at, okay, if I'm gonna do this acre, oh, that probably looks like 150 yards, right?
Yeah.
Once you get used to doing something, you do get familiar, you take a glance, you know, ballpark it, it might be 100 to 125, whatever. But then it'll start giving us some numbers, what that parking lot or that beach is gonna look like, right? I mean, the beach itself, we can always, you know, throw fabric paper down, store it on top of fabric paper, and like I said, use plastics or something, let it run back into the pond.
Right.
But let's see what volumes are and everything else is going for.
Yeah, and those are questions that we can ask Jeff, you know,
Yep.
how to approach that and, you know, his process in doing that to make sure that everything's done
And
appropriately.
maybe like getting like specific areas that are worse than others, you guys as the fishermen might be able to help him be able to judge, like, well, you guys could help judge on that, saying, oh, well, we looked over here, it's not really that bad over there, but over there,
Yeah.
you know?
All right, so you're okay with continuing to the January 15th meeting? Once you get these questions answered, really, those are the only pressing questions that I got. I don't have any issues going over this special order of conditions. There's nothing, you know, that I think's too crazy in there, that, you know, it's all pretty standard, it seems to be.
I just wanna-
And many of those, again, are drawn from this,
Yeah,
this
and
guidance.
looking at the notice, the order of conditions from Lakeville, from what I remember, there was a turtle protection plan in there, but that, I mean, that would be
Oh,
to you guys if, you know, it was pretty,
is it natural heritage?
no, it was just a plan that they had in place. It was just a
Yeah,
sweep for the day, you know.
Yeah,
I think
I
I
know.
sent that to you at some point.
Yeah, I think it was red-bellied cooter that Jeff explained that typically what they'll do is if, you know, they try,
Oh, yeah.
they do the best that they
Yeah, come
can
across. They
to
pick the
observe what's
file.
coming
Yeah.
up the
Yeah,
conveyor
yeah.
belt, and if they see a turtle,
Right.
Right.
put
they
it-
stop the belt,
Exactly.
you know, put it gently back in the pond.
Yep.
Make
All
a
right.
motion?
Motion to continue to the
January.
January 15th meeting at 6 PM here at the Town Hall meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, Scott.
See you in January, young man.
Thank you, I appreciate your time.
All right, next order of business, public hearing, notice of intent. Deep Brook Estates LLC, Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, map 17 and 18, lots 66, 68, 70, 73, 74, 75, 77, 79, 80, 81, 83, 84, and lots 18, 18G 12S and 12R SC file number 0010598. Notice of intent was filed by Deep Brook Estates LLC, property located at Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, Acushnet, Mass. Deep Brook Estates. The applicant proposes to finish construction on two subdivision roadways and drainage for the development of a 15-lot, single-family residential subdivision within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland due to an expired order of conditions. The applicant is represented by Jamie Bissonette of Zenith Consulting Engineers LLC. Plan name is Deep Brook Estates and a definitive subdivision plan on Park Drive, Acushnet, Mass. Dated October 24th, 2017. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jamie Bissonette requested a continuance to the January 15th meeting at 6 PM here at the Town Hall meeting room.
So.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business, extension of order of conditions, Eric DeBarros, Hathaway Road, map 14, lot 4C, SC file number 0010570. A request for an extension to an existing order of conditions was filed for SC file number 0010570 for property located at Hathaway Road, map 14, lot 4C. The applicant proposes to construct a single-family dwelling, septic system, and a 12-foot wide gravel driveway along with a 50 by 80-foot barn garage southerly from the dwelling within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by Dave DeVignan of Schneider, DeVignan and Leone. Plan name is Sewage Disposal System Site Plan for Hathaway Road dated November 18th, 2021, revised December 10th, 2021. Review matters presented, votes may be taken.
Chairman, I need to recuse myself.
Okay. Eric is recusing himself. So the commission conducted a site visit on Saturday. I was unable to attend. But Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dave wasn't able to make it to this meeting today, but I prepared just a small summary of what I got going on there as a project, and just like trying to get a little base of a learning curve on such project that's not quite the normal project of that comes in front of you guys.
Thank you.
We don't have the poster board, do we?
No, Easel.
Yeah, it does. I can't really point it out, but.
Hold it for you, Eric.
Hold
it for
Nah, it's okay, it'll be a little bit. Alright. Good evening, Acushnet Conservation. My name is Eric DeBarros, and I am working on a single-family dwelling on an offset lot off of Hathaway Road in Acushnet. The project has yet to receive an address, but for additional information, the project's DOT number is SE0010570, map 14, lot number 4C. At this time, I would like to go over my site plans to give you a better understanding of the project. This project is unique compared to the usual ones presented to you, with some key differences. First, I am recycling all materials on site, including trees, dirt, and rocks. All trees that have been or are being taken down are going on a sawmill on site, and they will be turned into dimensional lumber. Additionally, I will bring in trees from off-site jobs to use to construct the barn, the house, including walls, floors, countertops, shelving, pretty much the whole thing, front to back. Any wood that is not useful for building is set aside for firewood or put through a chipper and will be given away or processed into decorational mulch towards the end of my project. The sawdust is also recycled, often used with bartering for materials like manure, which I use for the loam mixture. Farm material. The farmers also use the sawdust, and they use that for like livestock, chickens, horses. They use it for bedding and all that good stuff. All this recycled, like I just said, all the soils will be recycled on site. I have already started these steps. All the dirt you see at the back of the property has been screened and kept covered as best as possible. Unfortunately, the site is very windy. I stripped all the loam stripped all the loam out of the driveway area and rented a top of the line screener to screen all the loam into 3 separate materials. The main materials that come off the screener is the loam, and after that you get two different byproducts. One being any stone about a 1/2 inch to 3 inches large in size, and the other being larger rocks and roots and that and roots that didn't decay. And large rocks and roots. I think I have a typo here. Sorry about that. Didn't decay. And anything. That didn't decay over the 2 years, because I have to before you can screen the soil, you have to let the soil sit and turn it and dry and decay, and it kind of recycles itself automatically. So whatever doesn't recycle, or like the larger stones and stuff, come off the front end, and you can use that for, I'll get into that. The small stone will be has been used for the base of the driveway in some sections, and it's a very good compactable soil, which is also good for drainage, which is beneficial at my site because it's very wet. It's a very wet site. The big rocks and exceeding roughly 6 inches to about 2 feet will be crushed into dense grade material that can be used under the foundations and anything really like structural. So after you get all that, you take all that material, which you guys probably seen at the site. The screening was done late fall, so it's kind of been a mess, and I've been fighting because as soon as it starts raining, I have to shut the site down. So at that, use that for all underneath. Any rocks bigger than the stage. With that said, I put together a detailed project description with steps that I have already done, and a rough timeline on some of the steps I have not yet performed. All these steps are roughly being done depending on weather and budget. Alright, so I started the project off by installing siltation fence in the beginning half of my project. I am solely doing this on my own for the most part. Every once in a while will be able to outreach and hire people to come help me. So it's really tough with being such a large site to like keep up with everything. So I started with this blue section here. I originally put the silt fence down, and then that would be step number 1. Number 2, the next step after that was to dredge out this whole section that's in this pink here. Reason being, you got to get rid of all the soils that, with the site being an old farm, there was a lot of loam. You got like 2 feet of loam before you even hit like any like decent soil, which is that compactable and will hold like a vehicle going over it or something. That's where the recycling comes into play in a drastic area, because to spend the money to bring in the material is a lot of money, so you can reuse it. Usually larger companies will take all this loam, they'll take it off-site, they'll do it off-site, and then they'll sell it to other products. I kind of just took all that out of the equation, and I do it all myself in a smaller, more unique way of saving money. It's more putting time and work into it than spending the money. All right. Number 3 was doing an access road, like the temporary access roads. With me doing everything at site, some of the roads you saw out there, they're not permanent roadways. I'll get into it a little later. That I wasn't really ready to start the project when I did too, so that was like a little hiccup that I had going through that I had to overcome. So like all the spots with the red, that's kind of like the loop you guys saw that I come in. A lot of that, it was cold that day, so it was probably a very, very high, but that gets really mucky and stuff still in there because I have not yet pulled all the topsoils off of that area. All right. So yeah, those roadways are not functional for future reference. That's just temporary so I can kind of section, like logs go here, and I try to keep it all in a rotational. Like I said, I'm doing it all myself, so I got to kind of, it looks like a mess, but in my head it's actually going in a sequential order. And some of the stuff, like I had to, when I took down the trees from one area, I have to temporarily store it in one spot till I get that area cleared to set the mill up, and then put it in a manner where it's a time efficient manner. All right. The next thing we're completed. So the next thing I did was put up the erosion control in the back piece. So this back piece over here, you guys saw. This is more. So this piece is the piece I had gotten to mostly this year throughout the project. I put in all the erosion control on the back, and I tried to. It wasn't shown on the original plan. I put a little more erosion control here and just tried to box it in because that was no longer. This is all done and vegetated. So I kind of, at that point when it got vegetated, I kind of started slacking on worrying about the silt fence over here because in my order of conditions it stated that after that area was vegetated, I wasn't responsible to have siltation device in that section. So then I started coming into this area. At this time, I have removed most all of the trees and stuff in that area. Also, after that's gonna come up number 5 if you guys are following along on your paper, was cutting down all the trees. Then all the stumps you see in the back side of the property. So you got the screen loam that is kind of like just sitting there waiting patiently to be used. And then there's a big pile of stumps. Well, all those stumps were all from in here. And I used all this, I just put them in the back. I try to dispose of them in the least expensive way possible. I do own a tree company. Sometimes I'll put them in other dumpsters because they charge me a certain rate for the dumpsters no matter what I put in them. So I'll sneak one of my stumps or so in it, and that way I don't have to pay for a whole dumpster. And I can, in return, give my customer a better number on what I can do the job for. So that's where all those stumps in the back are coming for. And then after that, I grubbed that whole area all in the back with a machine. And then I took some more of those tailings in between. That's just like a rough estimate list of how I performed it. I took some of those tailings, that's how I got that back area all nice and level. And I put a lot of the tailings in it, coming back to that like 1 inch to 3 inch stone, makes it nice and compactable. And then it also, unfortunately, when I was screening it, decided to rain on me, so there was a little more loam left in that section than I anticipated. So it was a little loamy, but it works really good with water flow and in wetland areas because it allows the water to freely move through the stone. It's not like putting a, like I was saying, it was a lot of loam in that area, so you don't want to put like 2 feet of dense grade. And for one, it's super expensive, and for two, the water can't flow through it underneath. So you want to put a nice stone base on the bottom, which allows the water to flow through freely, and then eventually I'll probably cap it, or depending on where the project exactly goes in the far, far future, I might end up just loaming that area after I'm using it for my material and such. That's gonna be the end of what I've completed, I believe. Grubbing, took all the loam material from the access roads and screened it. Yeah, that kind of got mixed in. All right, so yet to become is gonna be the next steps I got in front of me for this next year coming is going to be create a starting area for to start producing sawmill to saw the lumber and not. I had to put a stop to everything because it started getting really messy and unprofessionally divided. I'm pretty sure you guys noticed, like I had some cut lumber in the front that's supposed to be, it's firewood, it hasn't got chopped all the way up yet. I kind of do it as I go, but that's all going to be removed. All those logs that are all against the north side, roughly where the septic system is, that's all going to be moved. And then this section right here is going to be where that little temporary shack is I built right there. So I'm going to put a little lean-to off the side of it, just temporary, like you get them like off the side of a camper or something. Put it over there so I can mill under rain and snow, and usually I do most of my work in the wintertime when I'm slow at work. So this area is going to be where I temporarily stack all those logs. So all that's going to get moved so that I can have a nice flow of workflow here. As I cut the logs, I'm going to neatly stack them in one of these areas. It all depends on the way the material sets. You get settling and all kinds of stuff throughout the project that you kind of got to just work with, and especially like on a slow project like mine. It's only one person, I repeat. Like, it's all long and hard and tons of work. I got hours and hours and hours into this project. All right, and I didn't mention it in my little thing, but eventually I plan on taking. There was a shed over here. It was a little bit smaller, not by a large amount. It was a little smaller. Eventually, I'm going to take that shed and replace the other one where that one is. Shed, temporary dwelling, whatever you like to call it, and put it over there and make it permanent, hopefully, unless anybody has any other problems with that. All right. Also for next year, I'm hoping to finally break ground and get a garage up. Some might ask, why are you going to do a garage? First, the reason being is I need somewhere to store this lumber. There's steps to it. You can't just take a tree, put it on the mill, saw it, and turn it into your house. I'm in the middle of another hiccup right now. I talked to Andy Bibola, and I've been trying to deal with a couple different structural engineers so I can get more of, a lumber list put together. So for like all the structural beams, I'm going to be doing post and beam barn for all of that. It has to be stamped and all that stuff. So I'm going to have to have it all stamped and it's hard to find right now. All right. Now that I have gone over what I have done and what I have planned to do, for the near future, I would like to point out a few things. When I first started this project, I was not fully aware of the laws, nor was I fully aware of the Conservation Commission. Unfortunately, this put me in a tight spot where I had to move forward with the project when I wasn't ready. All right. A lot of changes have come since I started the project in life. I first approached some of you board members have remembered where I started, and it was nowhere near where I am today. At this time, as far as my preparation work goes, this is what I got, and those are my goals for 2025. At this time, if you guys have any questions, if I didn't explain myself well enough for you, I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have on the process, on how it's not just, now you guys know how it's not just a normal process where I'm hiring out other companies to do stuff, how I'm recycling. It's kind of, in my eyes, it's as green as it gets. You're not moving things, you're not spending money on fuel to truck things off-site, on-site. You're doing everything right there on-site, and it's tough as it is, and as many hiccups as it is, at the end of the day, I feel it's gonna be very rewarding.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have one. Most of us never walked your site before,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
We weren't there the first 3 years. I know Everett, you were,
Oh, yeah.
and Heidi was. I'd like to hear from Everett to see what the changes have been in the 3 years that he had this permit, and see what his expression is from there, and then I have a couple other questions I'd like to bring up after.
I don't see a whole lot of progress looking at it with my eyes. The road into the property seems like it's a little more stable than it ever was. But I don't know, it looks, I can't say that I'm happy with the way it looks. I think it's turning into almost a landfill type project. I'm sorry to say that, Eric. I know you're working at, trying to work hard at getting it resolved, but I think you have to neaten it up. You have to clean it up.
Oh, I'm more than.
You have to. It's
well,
just. I'm not against giving you an extension, but you gotta show more progress than you show it.
The other thing I'd like to say, Eric, if you don't mind, Chairman, is you have your trucks, that temporary shed, everything as closest to the wetlands as you can get it. What about using the other side where there is no wetlands? Why do you have it down in the hole? So those are older trucks, guaranteed they leak oil. You're telling me the water goes right through the stones and everything. So your silt fence ain't gonna stop oil, period. So that's where you need wattles. So my biggest thing is, why put it there? Why
Because-
jeopardize the wetlands?
The reason I put it there is because I was advised by my engineer that that was the lowest point of the site, that the water wouldn't flow as fast, and also that that's gonna be the part of the site that takes the most fill. If you were to look at the plans, that site's supposed to be raised up more than what it is right now. Like I said, it's not totally finished.
Does it
So-
show on that plan, Eric?
What's
The
that?
elevations? Do they
Yeah, I
show
believe it. I believe it does.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, if it's your lowest point, why would you want a truck that has oil or anything over it?
Well,
I mean,
he told me it's just a smarter move in the process. Believe me, I didn't want to, because I had to literally go out there and clear that whole lot, and that set me back almost a year, because I had to clear it all, stump it all, get a bigger machine. I didn't own any of that machinery prior to buying the land. I bought it all to go and do.
But if you moved it to the other side, you'd be out of the buffer zone.
I understand, you know,
I agree
what
with
you're
Jimmy in the
saying.
sense that he's,
I understand what you're saying, I'm not
Yeah.
against of it, I'm just telling you the answer to your question, and that's what I was advised to do, so that's what I performed.
But knowing what you know today, Eric, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
And also in that section that's the only section in the plan, if you look at the plans, it's not gonna be in the way. The barn is off to the right, the house is off to the left. So for me to put it in where the barn's gonna go, I would have to set everything up, try to build a barn around. You can't build a barn around it. I'd have to move everything to construct.
But
So for now, it has to go there.
I think
And my trucks are well maintained, like every other site, we just went through it with NSTAR, their trucks even leak. So I do understand what you're saying, I do try to keep up with my equipment as best as possible, because on a business aspect, Eric DeBarros, I am very, very keen on time. And you got a tire moving, if you catch a nail in it and you're not paying attention and you're not maintaining, it will shut down your whole process. Not only for my process, but when I'm going out and doing a job, for somebody, I wanna make sure that wheel's continuously turning. There's nothing like saying to a customer, hey, I'm sorry, I slacked off on greasing my excavator, so, it's gonna take me 4 extra days now. So I try to keep my maintenance, I
I'm
do
not talking
mow
about
lawns.
maintenance, and I'm not talking about nothing else, I'm talking about an old truck sitting there.
Okay.
Okay?
I
And is it gonna drip? Yes, it is, and I'm just wondering,
If the seals are not correctly
well,
maintained.
either here nor there, Eric. What I'm saying is, why jeopardize the wetlands? So we looked at another one where I told the guy, take your log splitter away from the wetlands. It's that simple, because you never know, if you blow a hose, if you do anything, if you have the ability to get away from the wetlands, why wouldn't you? Seriously.
I just told you.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that you can move those vehicles further away from?
They're not always parked there, to be honest. Usually,
Well,
they're all over the place. Sometimes I park them up at the top where the stone is. If I'm working over where the stone is at the top of the property, I'll have them over there. Now, if I'm at the bottom of the property, like I was just recently doing all the screening and all that stuff at the bottom of the property, the machines are there. They're gonna be there regardless. It doesn't matter. The house, the barn is all in the buffer zone. So the trucks and all the equipment are gonna be there. It's inevitable. So I am, at this time and point in my project, I do it as best as I can to keep the tire and the project moving. So now if Everett wants me to get it done quicker, you're gonna have, now you want me to do it and change everything, I'm not gonna be able to satisfy Everett, because now it's gonna take me another 6 months to a year to move everything this way. I can't just
Drive
keep
the
moving
truck,
things
is
around.
all I'm saying, drive the truck.
Well, you mentioned other things too.
Well,
Hold on one second. Brad,
Good evening, members of the commission. I'm not offering this as assistance to the commission. Just so you're aware that Governor Healy, in the end of November, issued a Permit Extension Act.
Yeah.
So any permits that were good between January of 2023 to 2025 get 2 years automatic.
yeah, we're aware of that.
Okay,
We're aware-
so
we're
if he's
aware of
asking
that.
for an extension, he may already
Well,
have
he-
the 2 years.
Yeah,
He's already
no,
got
he's
it.
guaranteed
I appreciate it.
Okay,
He's
Right.
guaranteed two, but, he
He's looking for-
wants 3.
okay, I just
Sure.
thought that maybe
Well,
it could help.
well,
that's all.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Continue.
What, Eric, what else did you want to say?
No, continue. I want to hear what you guys have to say first.
I was just.
No, it's fine.
referring to
Don't
what this
continue. That's
gentleman-
fine. That's fine. Just continue.
I have to concur with Everett that I think some of the, not just the machinery, but some of that material should be pulled back away from the buffer zone too.
So,
I mean, you have ample space on that site.
so
You
I,
do.
with the
You
wet,
can't-
it's wet. You can't really.
so
you can only
I think on
utilize
one
so
Saturday, was there any breaches in the erosion control? Did there appear to be any material running into the wetlands?
No,
No, actually, Ryan, I'm sorry and to interrupt you, but I also went another extreme, and there's a rock wall that is on this plan. Instead of me just taking that rock wall and turning it into the other materials I had stated in the first place, I just took that wall and replaced it and used it for a barrier to make sure nothing else would go in there. So now it's got rock wall, silt fence, everything, so for anything to get past that silt fence, there would have to be a catastrophic flood, where everybody would be underwater. There's no way at that.
Oil floats to the top, remember that.
I didn't say
floats to the top.
oil, I didn't say the oil.
Again, I just thought, some of the materials that you got scattered around could have been,
Could you
not-
guys
not-
specify on
So-
what materials you would like me to move?
Some of the planking that you already milled, and there was some, seemed like it was pretty close to the.
You talking the front?
No, down by where your camper used to be, you got some bunch of boards there,
Yeah.
planks there.
Yeah,
It's
so
in the
the-
vegetation area.
It's, right,
Yeah.
doesn't need to be quite so close to the,
Yeah,
not that it's harmful necessarily, but
But it's in the
you
vegetation.
do have ample space that it doesn't
No,
need to be, so close to the
I
BVW.
totally understand that.
That's all.
I'm gonna mention one thing, in the 310 CMR, it does say that stacked firewood is exempt from being in the buffer zone.
Oh.
That is firewood.
No, it does, it's firewood.
All right,
Okay.
well,
Hey, I'm not, don't be getting all wound up, I'm not saying I will not move it, I'm just stating
didn't,
for the facts. It's actually section, it's gonna be 10.02. I do not have a problem though
I didn't.
I'm not gonna have a problem of going over there and trying to move that. Like I said, I've been jumping around. At that time, I had the mill over there, because the other end, at the bottom, had trees falling down, and the trees were 100 foot, so I needed a 100-foot area open so that I could drop the tree.
I don't want you to jump through hoops. It wasn't apparent to me that that was firewood, is what I could.
Oh, no,
It was 30 or 40 plates,
I just-
maybe.
No,
didn't assume that
most
it
of
was
that,
firewood.
most of that's all
I just
getting turned into
didn't,
firewood. That was when I started
So, yeah,
milling.
that's-
So when that, like I said, I
Answers that
purchased
question.
all this equipment in the process of building. So I had to do my own learning curves, like such as milling lumber. So a lot of those boards, if you didn't notice, they have a lot of cupping, they have a lot of cracking.
Well, no, I didn't look at it.
So that's why it's getting all turned into firewood, because I didn't properly mill it and it was a
Have at
learning
it.
curve. So that's why that was there.
Yeah.
I have no problem moving that.
No, I didn't.
Actually, in fact,
I didn't.
I wouldn't mind at all, and actually I would ask for, at this time, I'd like to ask for a continuance, and if nobody else has anything to say, I would like to ask for a continuance to the January 15th meeting, maybe, and that will give me sufficient time to get in there, and I can pull those boards and stuff out of there.
We're not gonna go walk the site again. I mean,
No.
and
No, you don't have
listen
to.
to what you said, what I'm
I
saying.
can,
is
I
you
can
guys
come in with
listen.
photographs and
No.
prove my way.
I don't think it's necessary, truthfully, my own personal opinion.
Okay, if you want
Right?
to deny my...
No, I'm not denying your
continuance.
continuance. What I'm saying is, because I do believe you're gonna move the boards, right? Small little things, right? The two vehicles, I think you should move them away from the wetlands.
Yeah, I
Right?
can do that too.
So that's what I'm saying. It's all easy things. I don't think it needs to be a continuance, or am I wrong by saying that?
No,
No, I would still like
have
to
to agree.
continue.
It is a pretty wet site, so there's clearly a lot of water flowing through the site.
Right.
There's no doubt about it.
I guess my biggest thing is, I didn't go out to the site, I've been out there multiple times. I know what the site looks like, and if Everett says it looks similar, then I guess my biggest thing would be, I know how he's working on this project.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm receptive to it, and it's not an easy site. So with that being said, if there was no observation of filling of wetlands, material eroding into wetlands, if erosion controls were in place, the field was an issue at one point in time. The field is completely stabilized. That, you could take those stakes out of there,
Thank you. Thank you.
in my opinion, because there's no need for erosion control.
Right.
The order of conditions specifically says erosion control remains in place until the site area is stabilized,
Right.
the area of the site is stabilized. So there's no need for erosion control. Take those stakes out of there.
Thank you.
Um,
Horrible.
Not where the trucks are, though. That
No,
is-
no,
I'm just
No,
saying.
obviously,
Yeah.
you know, that,
On
that's.
the entrance driveway.
On the
Oh, the
entrance.
entrance
Right.
driveway,
That-
all good.
driveway's
Got a lot of-
That area right there,
Building
yeah,
that.
No,
that's,
no matter what, the governor's gonna give
oh, yeah.
a 2-year extension.
Right.
Do I have a problem with giving them another year?
No.
No, I don't.
No.
And not at all.
What's the
Good luck with your project. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah,
On the other hand, it's not that extension's not only to appease you guys, but it's to appease me too. I want to make sure that that law is definitely set in stone. I was already advised that I had that option. I did my own research, and from what research I had got, the only thing with that law that was approved at the time that I did my own research was the wording. So the wording was approved, but nothing else was
She
approved.
she signed the bill.
Did she?
Regardless of the fact,
All right, so then I can withhold, I can take back my extension
Right.
too and just get my 2 years. And that should be sufficient for what I'm looking to do at this time. And then 2 years, I could maybe change some stuff, come in for an amendment or something. Things can change. So why don't we just, if that is the case, I would still ask for the continuance, just so I know for my own well-being, and I know nobody's making mistakes, I'm taking everybody's word, I'm just a very cautious person, and where my,
I haven't heard anything from town council.
I heard that it's not in writing and it's done. It's not in writing and it's not done until January 13th. So if I get continued to the January 15th meeting, I have time to ask and talk to my counsel and make sure that he tells me that is in writing. Because
actually
now if I go ahead and I don't go for this
20th.
and have this,
February.
is it the 20th?
February
It's
20th.
a 90-day cooling off period
Right,
from
90
November
days, right.
20th,
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure it's
But
signed.
it would still apply to his
Yeah.
project.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, the
Correct.
timeline, yeah, the
But
timeline
you say
applies.
January 13th, it'll be done, it ain't.
No, no.
No, I'm
Just
saying
let
it
you
was,
know
no,
that.
I'm saying
February
it.
20th.
January 13th was the date that I was told that it was supposed to be signed, and then there was supposed to be a grace period that I'm not sure. That's the whole reason why I
There's
continued.
a lot of questions.
That's the whole reason why I continued to come forward,
Eric.
and I wanted to know your guys' opinion on what you would like to see, so I know for future reference, what to look out on this project. Now I know, future project, that you don't want to see my trucks near the wetlands, so I'm gonna make it a point for myself not to have
Well, it's
the
just good
trucks.
common practice, right? I mean, truthfully.
Yes, it all depends on where you are.
Yeah.
It's different boards, different people, different feelings. It's just how, unfortunately, it's how it is, because some towns you go into, they're like, whatever. As long as you're not going through and you're not devastatingly taking down trees in spots you don't have to, and this, you're fine. Other
Right.
people want to.
Eric, I don't want to cut you off.
So just, I'd like a continuance for now, that's all. Or we can, you know,
I was going to entertain a motion to extend the order of conditions.
we can always do that. What would change it on the 15th, other than me being able
Well,
to verify?
I don't know how that would work with, because your order of conditions expires on,
The 19th.
19 or 18?
Yeah, it's right there. Mark, you have it in front of you?
18th.
What was
Right.
it issued on?
I thought it was,
19?
I thought it was before.
It's 119.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's the 19th.
Okay, if you want to,
I'm just trying to dot my i's, guys, that's all.
understood. Okay, if you want to continue,
Yeah, I just want to make sure that law's in effect and is, I just
It's
don't
not
know.
really it's not a hearing, it's just a meeting.
Right.
If he
No.
doesn't, he wouldn't do advertisement or anything.
no, I understand. If he wants to continue this to the next,
Yeah.
the next
Well,
meeting. I
Yeah,
mean,
for a vote.
Yeah, and if some odd reason that bill does not pass, or doesn't go through, or maybe it is, I didn't have time to reach out. I recently just had a truck stolen off my yard, so my time's been all tied up. So I'm just trying to make sure that I have all my laws,
one
all
less
my
truck, by the
stuff.
way. Just kidding.
Yeah,
I know. You're like Eric.
it's so,
All right.
thank
All
you.
right, so with that said,
Yeah,
we'll continue, we can continue it to the, I'll entertain a motion to continue this
To 50.
to the 15th at 6 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Well, I'll be here.
All those in
anyway.
favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
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 I
That's
abstain.
unanimous. Oh, one abstention. Oh, you're not, Eric.
Oh, that's,
Everett abstains.
Yeah, Everett.
He has to, he ain't gonna be here.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Okay, next order of business, discussion, 324 Main Street. Review of proposed restoration plan, review of matters presented, votes may be taken.
Good evening, members of the commission.
How you doing, Brad?
Good. I didn't print off 7 copies, so just put a couple between you.
That's fine, I read,
Okay.
I looked over the email.
Thank you for being so patient. It's been my pleasure. Learning curve. That's right. Learning, that's right.
So,
You got one.
I was able to meet with Jim and Mark on site. We looked at the wetland area and the area that Jose had cleared. I know that Jose's been in front of you and been working with the commission, and we've discussed putting this proposal together and working under an enforcement order so that we can have a friendly enforcement order and work together on this. So that, I think that's what we're
Most
our hope
definitely.
is, and I think that's
Yeah,
where we're going.
Most definitely.
So what we've done is, if you see, we've delineated the limit of the wetland. We flagged it by analyzing soils, and then we GPS located each one of the wetland flags and overlaid it onto an aerial image. And that allows us to come up with a plan and some area calculations and save Jose the cost of a surveyed site plan. So based off that information, we were able to define the wetland area clearing limit was within the bordering vegetated wetland, a good portion of it. There was also work within the buffer zone, and I think the Conservation Commission's really interested with that first 25 feet from the edge of the wetland out. So we've designated on that second sheet a wetland restoration area, which is approximately 18,000 square feet. It's a large area. And then the yellow shaded area is the buffer zone restoration area that we're proposing to restore. So that area, as you know, was all spruce that he had removed and then continued into the wetland, not knowing what the conditions were. So when you're looking at those plans, that correlates to the step-by-step restoration that we're proposed. We're proposing restoration within the wetland, so we're kind of listing it out by task so that he can implement the steps that, hopefully with my overview and coordination with Mark. What we're proposing is to clean up the area and revegetate it and reseed it. As I said, it's a large area, so what we're proposing on doing for restoration with replanting is to use seedlings, bare root seedlings. So we get tree species and shrub species and use those bare roots so that he can get those in the spring. Do the restoration work this winter that as much as he can, get set up for the spring. They'll ship the bare root stock material and then he can interplant with the seedlings in the spring. Within the 25-foot buffer zone where the stumps are remaining from the spruces, which are, a foot or two high, we propose to cut those flush, grind the stumps where we can, and then there's a lot of wood chips on site, so we just spread the wood chips in that 25-foot buffer zone area and leave it as is, and then put markers, some posts with some conservation signage at the 25 feet, no disturb, and that would be our restoration of the 25-foot buffer. I can go further into detail, but that's an overview of what we're proposing. It's a lot of work, but Jose has the equipment and be able to do it, and he can't really hide very well on Main Street, so I'm sure the commission will be stopping in as well. So we'll all be assisting Jose on his work, but I think that if he carries it out by step and some coordination, he'll be set up for the spring and he'll be able to carry this out.
Well, like you said, Mark and I had the pleasure of walking with you and just really looking at the site. And I think, Jose, you get your hands full. It is quite big, but I think it's something he can handle. The other thing I just wanted to mention was to Jose, when he told me he drives around to go put hay in his barns. That ain't gonna be available to you no more, Jose.
And that's quite all right.
All right, go through your field, go through your corral, go whatever you gotta do, just, you know what I mean?
Through the paddocks.
And then the other thing is, did you take your equipment off of that end where you and I were looking?
It's moved up higher where you suggested.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
So that area you and I were looking at, you're gonna stay away from, and everything else, beautiful.
I comply.
Nice.
I try anyway.
I think you're gonna, I really do. I think this friendly order is really, really a good thing. It's an enforcement, it's friendly, you're a town resident, we can't make you go broke, but we do have to do what's right. So with us all working together, we're gonna get both, right? You're not gonna go broke, and we're gonna get what we want. So I think it's a really good plan. I did look at all your plants and everything around in the office, and you got a lot of them, and I think it's really gonna bring that place back to wetlands the way it belongs, and I think it's a good going forward.
Yeah, try to get a variety of species, so there's a little diversity there.
Yeah, you did. Your variety looked very good, and I actually looked into a few just to see what they were, because I don't know all the plants. And it was impressive how you pulled them out and which ones you chose, and I was very impressed with that. And I think it's going to be a really good step in the right direction to get this moving and get it going in the right way.
Great.
I had looked over the plan. I did notice one thing. It said something about hand planting all these plants. Is there any way he could just use the machine? He's gonna have to go in there with the machine to pull everything out. I just don't see the point in having it in the plan where now he has to go out and dig 250 holes by hand.
The bare
Yeah,
root.
but- yeah,
You take a
that's-
bar, put it in the ground, make a hole, put it in, close it up.
They're saplings.
Yeah, they're bare root, they're only
Because
this
when I
big.
was reading it, it said 3 to something. Oh, I might have read it wrong.
Yeah.
It said inches, not feet, did it?
Yeah, so they're all,
Oh, that's-
they're all
I'm
bare
like,
root, so
these things are
most of
gonna
the
be
time, I mean,
huge.
I've seen it a lot where someone just uses a fertilizing bar, stick it in the ground, pull the bar out, put it in, take your heel, close it back up.
Yeah, I was because
Yeah.
I read it wrong.
Yeah,
I was
so I
reading it.
think
I'm
he's
like,
gonna
we're
be
gonna
fine. I think
he's gonna be able to go in there with
Jose's
a
the way to
machine
go.
and take everything out, but he's not gonna be able to go
Right.
in there and dig the
Right.
holes with the machine. And
Are you giving him a blueprint of where to plant and how to plant and what to plant?
Well, we have the blueprint here with the what to plant, and once he gets the stock, I'll kick it off with him so that we're going over it in the field.
Beautiful,
And
beautiful.
one other thing too is it's possible he could grow start these things himself, right? Like
Not by spring.
Yeah.
well,
you're
no, he
right.
could. He can ingrow. You can buy an indoor setup offline, very cheap, and you can start them indoors.
If you got the seed, you might be able to start. They wouldn't be 18 to 24 inches at the time of the spring. I think by the time, you could do that, it would be something that would be kind of fun to do, but by the time spring came around, we wouldn't have that height, and he'd probably spend more money in trying to grow and buy do seeds and
Electric
all
bill
that
through the
stuff. By the
roof.
time he spends for the seedling, you'd
What's the grow pattern on those? Very slow. Or?
Yeah, they're a couple of years old or so. I mean,
Okay,
you're
so
talking
that's species.
almost a seedling. The trees are 18 to 24 inches. You might get something like this big.
So it's like a 2-year growth.
Yeah, so it could take some time.
Okay.
But we're also going to seed it too. So and he has a decent amount that's already revegetated already. That's coming along. So
Yep.
Yeah, I think you can see that.
And even when we saw that, I mean, he's got the ruts from the tractor and everything else, but who cares, right? It's
Right.
regrowed in itself, nothing's ever level and plummet, flat and level in the field anyway,
Exactly,
so
right.
it's growing, let it go, and
Yep.
have it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I agree 100% that it is coming back in a lot of areas, and to stay away from them, right?
Just leave it-
It
let
doesn't
it
matter what it
continue.
looks like, just let it come back.
right,
Yep,
exactly.
I agree
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of ways so you could save some money, but if that's the best route, just buying these things, I think that's a great idea too.
Yeah.
And your biggest thing you have to look out truthfully is the deer in the fall.
They love that area.
That is true.
Well,
Yep, well, someone else planted a bunch of maples, and I asked, I said, are they all gone? He said, no. And I said, go take a look. And he called me up and he says, they're all gone. I said, no, I know, 12 of mine were gone too. So it's really tough,
Stay away from maples, because maples and
Yeah.
and the other ones are
Yeah,
poisonous.
but even the blueberry plants that they'll take down.
Oh, yeah.
So it might even be something where you might have
Might
to
be
go out
an
there and put a
expensive
little.
venture.
Yeah, you might have to put, like, buy that cheap, like little square netting, and just put them around the tree,
Yeah.
if you see that so next fall, really look into it good, see if they're being eaten, and if they are, then just try to get them, defer it, right?
Right.
And they have sprays for deer that I use that are really good, for rabbit and deer, it's really good, but you gotta do it like once a week. But you just walk up to it, it's easy, you spray it, it's done.
Right.
So it's just something you're gonna look at, Jose, in the next year, but I think the project going forward, the way we're going, I think is the best way to handle this, and I think, Brad, you've come up with an excellent, plants and everything else, and like I said, when I looked into them, I was very impressed, and if Jose does what his part, you do what you part, and we just come back and say yay or nay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Brad, you do a great job. I appreciate all the work you've done for us,
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I recommend Brad.
So Brad and Jose, Mark and I have been talking, we've been throwing some ideas in, whether this is being shared with you guys or not, I'm prepared to share this with you guys. We were discussing whether to reach out to maybe some of the agricultural schools as far as a school restoration project for this. Myself, I would be willing to reach out to our Boy Scouts here at Troop 11 to see if they would be interested in helping out with this restoration project.
Bristol Aggie might be another one.
Yeah,
Bristol
that'd be
Aggie.
great. They'd have a lot of fun planting and then
Yeah.
maybe getting back to see how they're coming along.
You know, taking into the consideration overall, to keep this friendly, to help try to, I guess, defer some of the expense on you and your family, and this gentleman here to come out and, you know, be so gracious enough to get involved with this. You know, if that's something that you guys would be interested in further discussing, myself and Mark, you know, we'll make ourselves available. We can reach out and see if we can make these connections and maybe come up with a game plan come springtime, if you guys are interested.
Just to let you guys know, I had a friend of mine buy Apovites from Bristol Aggie. $1 a piece for 2 footers.
Wow.
Right.
You know, so it is a really good, I mean, I think it's a really good idea to reach out. I actually think it's a really great idea. They might even be able to help you with some of the plants or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the more research you do, the more, you know what I mean? Try to figure out what you can do to help save you too, right?
Right.
And if you can get Boy Scouts there to help plant a few hundred plants, why not, right?
Yeah.
Right, so I don't know if that's something you guys would be interested in discussing and getting back to Mark and myself, and let's move this forward and, you know, hope for the best on this restoration project. How's that sound?
Yeah, I'm on board.
Beautiful.
Yep. I have no problem with the restoration plan, looks good.
You might want to reach out to Bristol Aggie soon though, and see what they might be able to help you for the spring.
Yeah.
So I did do a little research, and I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I did do a little research, and for the bare roots, they suggest that either a spring, which I prefer a fall planting, because the plant is dormant. Is that
Well, they're gonna ship them before the end of the winter,
right?
so you'll have them in the spring. So we wouldn't be able to get bare, you could, if you were to do bare root, we wouldn't have, because once they go dormant in the
Right.
spring, summer, you have to wait till the next winter to order them. So,
And like I said, fall is tough because of the animals, right?
Yeah.
So you actually want to try to get your plant established before the deer go there, and, because they don't go picking close once, you know, in the summertime. They wait until
Right.
things get dried up a little bit in the woods, then they come out. So I would really try to look into that spring planting, my own personal opinion.
right.
I just wanted to add that kudos to you, Jose, for, it was good to work with you, you came forward, and
I'll say likewise. Many of the members in the committee have been very gracious and understanding of my circumstances. I had no ill intent of disturbing wetlands. Again, it was, you know, the height and of the spruces that posed an issue consistently around this time of year, taking down the fences, potentially putting the horses at harm, and the neighborhood, because my horses have been loose down on Main Street, you know, taking off in the past. So again, learning curves, and we move forward, you know.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we need a motion?
I don't think so.
Alan?
Probably not.
Yeah, all right. I mean,
Discussion, right?
other than to move forward with the restoration
Right,
plan.
that would be
Yeah, so
right, I would think.
I'll
that, you
entertain a
know,
motion
we're-
to move forward with the proposed restoration plan for 324 Main Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's
Right across the
unanimous.
board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
guys.
know how we can help. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next order of business, 2025 filing deadline schedule. Review of matter presented, votes may be taken. I looked it over. And first 4 months is one meeting. And after that, it's kind of regularly scheduled programming. I don't have an issue with it. Joanne's really good with the, with all the deadlines and the site visits. So,
Sounds like a plan. I think it looks good.
yeah, I'll entertain a motion to accept and post the 2025 filing deadline schedule.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, on to sad news. The resignation, well, sad for us. Resignation of the Vice Chairman Everett Filler. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. You don't need anything formal from us on that, right? You just, is this just for the,
Yeah, no, it was just for the record and.
okay.
But this is us meeting?
This is,
Motion to deny.
So moved. Yeah, so moved.
And resignation of Chairman Ryan Resendes. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken.
Denied.
Denied.
Good night.
I believe it was thrown away.
Come on, guys.
That's what I heard, that it was thrown away.
No, there was, I saw the selectmen accepted it. It was a motion and a second. There was one that wouldn't vote, but, and I appreciate the selectmen. Okay, so that's what leads to this. The commission's seeking applicants to join the Conservation Commission. We need 2 new members.
We might have one right there.
Yeah, listen, it's, I joined over 5 years ago. I had my own reason, I was aggravated, and I reached out to the agent at the time, because hunting wasn't allowed on conservation land. So, I wanted to know, I prepared a presentation to explain why we should. I watched a couple meetings, 'cause I wanted to know who I was dealing with, what the, the makeup of the commission was, and, the chairman at the time, Mr. Rocha, said, we're still looking for our 7th member of the Conservation Commission. So I said, well, there's no better way to change anything than
Right.
do it yourself.
Right.
I didn't press the issue, I waited a little while, I went through the motions, I did the core MACC classes, I got all those under my belt. And then once I, learned a little bit about the Wetland Protection Act, I did press the issue and it did get accomplished. But I didn't, my job wasn't done. I really enjoyed my time on the commission, so. I learned a lot,
We appreciate it.
I worked with a lot of people, I met a lot of great people, made a lot of great friends, so, this guy especially. So, yeah,
Miss you.
I still got another meeting.
How's your mom?
So, agent updates, you got anything, Matt?
Couple quick things, nothing I think we have to act on right now, but, so we got a notice from Environmental Protection Agency and Mass DEP, and Jimmy sat in on this call. They're exploring, they want to figure out how they can get notified if there's any work in these shoreline areas where they did remediation for this New Bedford Superfund site. So they mentioned that Fairhaven, New Bedford worked with their bylaws, wetland bylaws. They've provided some background information. I think some of this went out because I think, well, Jimmy, you were on one of these, the calls. We had one call, but basically I need to follow up. I'm not sure exactly what's the vehicle or what's the mechanism that, to be sure they get notified when there's any proposed work. They provided, and I'll pass these around, I'll send these out to the commission. These came from Mass DEP. I forget the gentleman's name, I've got it written down here, Paul Craffery, you may know, but they gave us, I'll just pass this one.
Well, I guess my only question to that would be, is if you file a notice of intent and it gets filed with DEP, they review the application,
So there's the notification.
so,
To the regular.
and they issue comments, so are they really reviewing the application?
Right.
Well, they don't want to, they want to make sure that they're in the first initial loop. So what they're afraid of is that someone who's along the shoreline, who gets an NOI, decides to start tearing it in, and then they're in the PCBs.
Oh, and then, oh, I see.
Because that has not
Alright.
been dug
Yeah.
out. So that's what this is all about, making
Right.
sure that
So-
nothing on the
So I guess
shoreline.
at this time,
Yeah.
we don't have any current filings in those areas.
Beach
We have
Street.
one,
The only-
we have Slocum Street.
Beach Street.
Oh, yeah, the
Beach Street,
slope, the,
Yeah, but Beach Street is going and drilling through bedrock.
And they're still excavating at the shoreline.
Correct.
Right.
What did he say? They're gonna excavate a 16-foot trench, I think he said, to access that
Yeah,
horizontal
but
drilling?
I wonder if I don't think it's in, I think didn't they note that in their plans? What area was restored and where their proposed excavation was
I'm
gonna
pretty
be?
sure that's part of the
Wasn't Slocum
restoration
Street an
area.
RDA?
Isn't
That
it?
doesn't get a DEP number.
how about,
What was that?
The Slocum Street was an RDA, so that just, they're
So-
supposed to mail it to DEP, but it doesn't get a DEP number.
Right, but that Slocum Street project is it's in the road.
Right.
Yeah, but what they're saying, it's on the shoreline, so when they dig out that drain that goes into there now, and they put the new one in, both of them are gonna be
The,
on the
stormwater,
shoreline.
right, the
Yep,
stormwater is
correct.
part of
Both
it.
of them are gonna be on the
But
shoreline.
they're tying into the existing outfall of that project.
No, they're moving the
They're
outfall.
moving it.
They're taking
No,
it out from under the
That
road.
was gonna be a separate filing.
Separate filing.
They never filed that yet.
Right, not yet.
Yeah, so that hasn't been
I
filed.
guess we-
The RDA was for, the RDA they filed was for the work in the road and the catch basins.
Okay.
It wasn't,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
she said there was gonna be a separate filing, which there was gonna be a notice of intent. They were still working on logistics of going
For
through
the-
that parking
Oh,
lot,
yeah,
yeah.
which
yeah.
she didn't
Oh,
file.
yeah.
So that
That's right.
project,
It was
it
gonna
doesn't
go
apply
right
to that
on.
project,
Yeah.
right? And then the only other one, I guess, so there may be one in question, which.
But the thing is, I don't think they were looking for us to do anything except for make sure they know,
They're
right?
notified,
Yeah.
so I guess, I mean, you could reach out to the proponents of that job and make sure that they notify, because they're gonna contact you, it says it in the order of conditions, 5 days prior
Right.
to any work commencing, they're gonna contact you. So when you get that notification,
Just send it, yeah.
your first call should be to them to say, hey, they're gonna be starting in 5 days, right? I would assume.
Because that's their biggest concern, that someone opens up and they have PCVs in their yard.
Right. The-
Or on the
Well, the
property.
spread.
Because no one
the
knows
spreading.
how far in from the shoreline it really went.
I get you, yep,
You know what I mean? So they didn't dig into the shoreline, they only did in the water.
yeah, right.
But now they really are, because of high tides, everything else, extreme highs,
Sure.
no one knows how far this got moved in.
Yeah,
So that's what that's all about, is they just want to make sure.
yeah, no, I think we got that letter. Didn't you forward that letter to us? I think you did.
Yeah.
The email.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I would say, as of right now, the only project it would be that Eversource project. That
Yeah,
would
they,
be
they,
in that
they've
area.
identified, they have a list of properties and lots. that
Oh,
they
yeah,
believe-
yeah, because they
Yeah,
use they use the Robichaud's property as access,
yeah, so,
so they know.
so it's,
So is that on you to notify them, or is it on the proponent? Is that a memo that we have to forward to every applicant in these general areas, just to?
I don't know if it's a, yeah, I don't know if it's a, well, to Jimmy's point, you know, to come in, I think they want to preempt it before somebody goes too far down.
the bay?
And I don't know, and I think your point is really good, that DEP are they're reviewing.
Yeah, I
these
mean, they issue
NOIs.
comments, so I mean,
They should, if nothing else, even if it's, okay, we've invested some time and money, but if you're working in these areas, I would think that would,
But the DEP didn't have nothing to do with the super cleanup fund of the site.
no, they didn't, but they had the address of the proponent.
Correct,
who-
correct.
Who is,
But I don't know if
Who's-
the DEP would call them and say, hey, listen.
oh, he said DEP and EPA.
Right.
We're looking
Yeah.
for notification.
Right.
yeah.
So the
Well, it's
DEP is
EPA.
being notified when somebody
Yeah,
files an
for
order of
us,
Yeah,
intent.
EPA
But
was,
then sometimes doesn't
Yeah, no,
Eversource
that's-
send those exempt
that's their
letters that
jurisdiction,
maybe
that's
we
why.
should forward
Yeah.
It's their
to
jurisdiction.
EPA or call on, or
DEP
maybe
has-
that's,
The
you know what I
EPA
mean?
is.
Maybe
who,
sometimes, you know how we went to that?
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
they-
guess,
No.
but the area in question is along the Acushnet.
Right, so if Mark
They were the
Mark
key
reviews it, then he
proponents,
would be
yeah.
able to make
Right,
the decision to send it without waiting, a month or 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, I would hope that
I guess
any,
it couldn't hurt to send it, right?
any work on a coastal bank
Right.
wouldn't be exempt work.
Yeah.
I mean, now that this new conduit's going in, is that gonna be, there shouldn't be any maintenance to that, I mean, the horizontal drilling across. I don't know, I don't wanna speculate,
Yeah.
but I guess, my question would be, who is tasked with notifying the EPA when any work's gonna commence? Is it the proponent, or
Right.
is it the agent
That's
of the body that
I
issued the permit to do the work?
I would think the proponent would be the.
Call the circuit rider, they should be able to answer that question.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was a.
I'm pretty sure the EPA was involved in that project.
Which,
The
restoration?
No, the conduit,
Oh, the conduit.
Oh.
but I'm not sure. So
All right.
I would say
Hmm.
the only project that we have on the books right now in that general area would be that one.
Well, my plan is, I'm just bringing it to the commission's attention and to follow up.
Right, well, I
And
don't
say,
know, I just
what
don't-
exactly, what do you propose? What is it?
I would
We
think the
understand.
burden should
Well-
be placed on the proponent, in my opinion.
Mark was even asking them,
Right.
it's like, what do you guys suggest? And they really didn't have none.
Is
They're
it
like,
policy or is it,
courtesy,
Courtesy?
I think it's more of a courtesy right now.
Really?
I think it really is, because I don't think they have a policy out yet for it, and that's why they're reaching out to these towns to put it into they want to actually see it like almost into our laws, like the bylaws. So this way here, if you live in any of those addresses, part of it is not just an NOI, you gotta get a hold of the EPA, let them know where you are, and, because the PCBs ain't nothing to joke with,
No,
right?
no.
So
Well,
that's
don't-
what their big
yeah,
thing
You
is.
don't.
well,
And it's only bad if you disturb
It's
it.
horrible.
Right.
You know?
So I guess if the EPA has a list of all those properties and they don't want anybody digging a hole on the shoreline of those properties, I think it should be the EPA that reaches out to them and lets them know, hey, don't dig a hole.
Well,
But-
it could be a notification, right?
Right, a notification on their end. If there's an abutters list to those restoration areas or, I mean,
And,
we have enough,
and ourselves being aware.
we get enough,
Thank you.
Well, that's why I'm saying, that's why I say, I think the burden should be placed on the proponent. I mean, clearly, we're taxed as enough already.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that we, and
Right.
to try to stay on top of something like that,
right.
Well, I'll push back.
I mean,
and
if there's not a
No, I wouldn't
clear,
push back.
But
If
yeah,
there isn't a
I'm
clear
push back out and
protocol,
say,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Kinda great.
You could just let
It
them
is
know.
kind of great.
Let them know as a courtesy, we'll let any filing applicants know this, regulation, but,
yeah. Well, we don't, yeah.
yeah.
all right,
And,
we'll follow up.
I didn't know if it was like formal policy where they
well,
wanted,
they've amended in my first, and not to belabor the point, but it's, Fairhaven and New Bedford modified their bylaw to incorporate this.
Include that,
Yeah, so there's some kind of notification
right, but
requirement in there, but we don't.
we don't have a bylaw, so.
Yeah, so,
huh,
yeah.
they
I'm
have,
just
they have a lot
raising
more
the issue.
expansive seashore as well. but-
I mean, we do have the least of the three, right? Acushnet has the least amount
Yeah, but
That's
most of the
That's right.
restoration was done a lot.
done in Acushnet, I know.
There was a huge, yeah. I
But what I'm
agree.
saying, as far as residents and everything else, and we do have, the coalition owns the old junkyard, right, that was down there.
Too.
Yeah, so that, what I'm saying is, that took a big spot of the waterfront.
I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be.
And they're in the process of purchasing Robichons.
So it is still ongoing? I was
Yeah.
wondering.
They're trying, supposedly from what I heard, they're trying to put a walkway that'll go like all the way over
Yeah,
Rhode Island.
they call them greenways.
Yeah.
It's a big thing with the state, the DEM, they, greenways, pearl,
Right.
green
Yep.
necklace,
Sure.
Right.
there's
Yep,
another
and I've
name
heard the
they call
term.
them.
Yeah, I've heard the term, yeah.
They usually try to run them up a river.
Right,
Or
a
around-
waterway,
completely
sure,
around the
along,
pond.
right, sure, or, right, a body of water, sure, yeah.
What else you got, Mark?
I think at some point, I was looking at, there's, well, I'll just leave it. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
There's a provision in the Wetlands Protection Act about when people go out and to overcome the presumption that you have a stream's not perennial, that you've got to take these photos. And there's a section, I kind of wrote it up, I'll send it out, just where the language is a competent, the photos should be done by a competent party, and then it lists the commission, an agent, as well as others, and that it acknowledges that an affidavit, is all in there, but it would seem that, in my opinion, it would be good to have the agent or somebody at least have the opportunity, if you're going out to take photos, it would be good to have somebody on site, trust but verify.
Yeah, like a witness, like if you were to do a perk test or
Like
something.
you said, someone.
So that's my idea, and there's language, and this all came up around the drought, right? There was a call.
October 1st.
Yeah, so anyhow, I'm gonna float that.
Well, you guys can throw that in your wetlands bylaw.
Yeah.
There is documentation that has been started for a wetland bylaw. They are tough to pass, but.
We're gonna hire you as a consultant.
No.
Yeah,
Very expensive.
The thing is, like they were saying, like you never you never know if someone's low enough to go up ahead and throw 4 hay bales across the creek. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I agree.
Right, so that's what that's all about. He said, someone should be walking it and saying, yeah, it is clear and it's okay, right?
Right.
Because you don't know what someone's really doing. I mean, I know we had Dave Davinian give us an affidavit, everything else. I mean, do we trust Dave? Yes, we do, right? I mean, we really do.
Well, we
So,
really?
So that is what ain't bad, but you never know if somebody else would, right? Let me see what I can do, let me put some hay bales across it, see if it dries up in 2 days, go take 4 pictures, get rid of the hay bales, come back in, here's my 4 pictures,
No, I
right? And that's what it
No,
is.
I agree.
Yeah, so,
Yeah. Make that recommendation to have that on a bylaw.
Okay, yeah, I'll
Or Paul.
And,
Well,
just some, I'll send it.
I mean, I don't know if there's any,
Yeah.
Office Paul.
or maybe, I don't know, maybe, can you make, I don't know if you can make that a policy.
No.
Like,
I
I don't
I run it
know.
by the circuit, right? I talked I was talking to someone at DEP, and
If they said you could make that a town policy, I mean,
well, let me get some
I would think that would
clarification.
have to
I've
be-
heard things that
Yeah.
not always.
yeah, I would think that would have to be in a bylaw, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, and then the other thing is, every other stream in town might have already been determined by now.
Yeah, I just,
Unless,
the language
I mean,
is,
they do change.
the language
I
is
think that
vague.
determination's only good for 5 years, I think, but I could be wrong.
Well, the language is vague, and my idea was just to
Yeah, no, I
clarify
think-
that a
I think it's
competent official would.
I think it's a great idea, I mean, I agree. But I don't know if you can make that policy
stick.
stick without it being in a bylaw. I don't know.
Commission,
That's-
well, I don't know,
Well, add it to
I
the
don't, well, not only that, I mean, you could ask,
right?
certainly, you know.
Never hurts to ask.
That's right.
But then again, they come forward before you even know they're doing that, so it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, they come in after the fact.
Yeah, and it's, if you read I'll send out what I wrote up. I'll send it
All right,
in an
yeah.
email. It's, anyhow, it's an interesting little couple paragraphs
All
in
right.
terms
I'll
of,
check that out.
and it's trying to head off a situation where it would get contentious, because I think the act implies that the commission can actually question certain
The
situations.
validity.
Yeah, and it'd just be nice to have somebody on site that there's no question, but
Yeah.
that's just, I'll send it forward. We'll put it in the scope of work for your consultancy on that wetland
I have to
bylaw.
agree that,
Scope of work.
you could have an issue with any photograph
Oh, yeah,
that's, someone presents that.
right. I mean, it's a sworn affidavit.
Well,
that you know, I mean,
Right, and then
Okay.
acknowledge
It's
that,
a, it's
It
a
just,
binding
it's
legal
just
document that
single-
you're attesting to,
single,
so.
you know,
I mean, I think there's more penalties for that than you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
No, but I agree. I think a witness is always good for
Yeah,
everything. You know?
right.
I know the affidavit works for a lot of other things more pressing than a stream.
Right. In other business, I got none. So, future business. The next meeting of the Conservation Commission will be on January 15th, 2025. Meeting to be held at the Town Hall Meeting Room located at 122 Main Street, Acushnet, Mass. I just want to say, Everett, it has been an absolute pleasure to serve on this commission with you. I thank you for your wisdom, your guidance, and your history lessons.
Experience.
Yes.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
It's been an honor, and I'm glad to call you a friend.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met you otherwise, and
I concur.
it's been a pleasure. So, with that being said,
We need people for the Conservation Commission.
we need members for the Conservation Commission.
It's fun.
Please send your, we're friends. This is,
So both of you that'll leave it. Come on, that's horrible. That was horrible. I'm sorry, that's horrible.
no, but it's been a rewarding, Everett, how long has it been for you? 15?
I was still working at Ford, so I worked at Vogt for 10 years.
Hey.
And I've been out of Vogt for 5 years,
Wow,
so
So,
15 or so.
sure.
In a little over 5 for me, like I said, I wouldn't go anywhere, it's my kids, you know, I'm missing out on a
blame
lot
you.
of things.
We
I'll be back
understand.
in
That's what
one form or fashion, and I'm a phone call away, Joanne, anybody on the commission, but
Same
Any-
here. I'm always home.
any,
Herbert, I might call on you to review
Uh-oh.
some abutters notices.
I'll call you a cell phone.
They take 4 hours to, you know.
I know.
anybody interested, it's a great experience. You get to see a lot of places you'll never see in town. You get to walk the woods, you get to walk the wetlands. It's great. You're gonna meet good people, not only people on the commission, but applicants. Give it a shot, write a letter of interest to the selectmen, and they'll be back to you shortly. Executive sessions have been canceled. Town council had a personal issue reason why they couldn't be here, so with that being said, Everett,
Ryan,
would you like to make a motion?
since this is my last meeting, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Farewell, brother.
That was an
Been fun.
honor.